Racket 360, it's an umbrella that encompasses 4 different business units. One of the business units is Racket Social Club, the one that I'm leading, and it's the clubs. All of them have padel, and some of them have other racket sports.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Padel Smash Academy. Today we are interviewing one of the trailblazers in the paddle world, Patricio Misitrano, CEO of Racket Social and Misitrano Consulting. Patricio, welcome to the channel. So happy to have you back.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you again, and hopefully soon we'll be able to visit you in person down in Miami.
So first of all, when we interview you, you were now the CEO of Racket Social. So why don't we start a little bit with Racket Social, and what is Racket Social, and what do you guys do, and what is your day-to-day operations there?
So Racket Social, we have 4 different locations. One, it's an outdoor location in Atlanta.
But what is Racket Social they're clubs. They're paddle clubs.
Series of clubs. Racket Social Club. It's a series of clubs. All the clubs have paddle courts, and some of the clubs have pickleball. One of the clubs has tennis, swimming, and platform tennis. And some of them are indoors and some of them are outdoors. We have 4 locations. One in Denver, which is indoors with 4 paddle and 4 pickleball. And one in Atlanta that we were leasing the space inside of a big club. And we had 4 paddle courts. We acquired the entire property, and now that club became Racket Social Club at Windward Lake and has 18 tennis courts, 6 pickleball courts, 2 platform tennis courts, a marina, and 3 swimming pools. And we have 2 in Houston, 1 in Willowbrook, which has 4 outdoor paddle courts and 2 pickleball courts. And brand new as of this weekend, on Saturday, we opened the Katy location, which is 5 indoor paddle courts with 30-foot ceilings. And those are the 4 locations that we are running today.
You just mentioned that because we were at the Alpharetta in Georgia club. You just mentioned that you guys acquired the entire club, or just the courts?
All of it.
Wow. So the tennis courts included and everything?
Yeah, tennis courts, swimming pool, the marina, 121 slips, and all of that, the clubhouse. So now when you're driving in, the entire club is Racket Social Club, and we renamed it Racket Social Club at Windward Lake.
Wow. Now, did that originally happen like recently or?
November.
Wow.
That's a beautiful facility. We loved it. I mean, we loved it.
Really, it's really nice. Very New England. Yeah, very, very New England. Now, you're from Connecticut. I'm originally from Connecticut too. That's my home state. And you developed one of the first clubs there in Connecticut, right? Sports House. Are you still involved with Sports House, or have you moved on?
So I started that with 3 business partners, and as of last year, almost a year ago now, I sold my interest in the club. The club opened in October of 2023, and I was part of the group from the very beginning. I was the one that, funny enough, I was driving by and I saw a building, and I'm like, oh, I know this building. It used to be for lease and now it's for sale. So, but prior to finding the building, we were looking for other locations. But as of last spring, then I'm no longer part of the ownership group.
Now, Patricia, what was the motivation of selling your interest and equity in that company? Is it to move on for other, opportunities, or?
Yeah, the club is doing really well. It's very successful. It was actually from the get-go. But sometimes the interest in how to move forward any business don't align. And we decided to part ways. They are doing very well. And now as of, last year, even before I sold my interest, I started pursuing other avenues for me to move forward with, rackets and what I've been doing for over 2 decades. And one of those is Racket Social Club. And I've been involved with Racket 360 for a year and a half now. So, we decided to part ways, and they're doing very well.
So why don't you explain a little bit what is Racket 360?
So Racket 360 it's an umbrella that encompasses 4 different business units. One of the business units is Racket Social Club, the one that I'm leading, and it's the clubs. All of them have padel, and some of them have other racket sports. Then RacquetX, the big convention and trade show. The first 2 years was in Miami. This year, in a couple of weeks now, in March, it's going to be for Lauderdale. Then the third business unit is Racket Central, which is an e-commerce marketplace platform that sells padel, pickleball, and apparel, shoes, and accessories. And the fourth business unit is the National Padel League, which is the largest amateur padel league in the country. And also within the National Padel League, besides the interclub league that is endorsed by the USPA, they also run corporate events and corporate leagues.
And why don't we talk a little bit about also Misitrano Consulting? What does that do?
Yeah. So Misitrano Consulting is, for the most part, taking a pause because my day-to-day is 99.999% Racket Social Club. So I'm not taking new clients, and that was one of the agreements we had when I took on the role, that I wasn't going to take new clients, which is not fair to Racket Social Club. So I'm not doing that. But I've been, prior to working full-time for Racket Social Club, I've been advising and consulting with entrepreneurs and connecting folks that were looking to raise money with some other ones that were looking to invest, and reviewing business plans, reviewing projections, helping with club design, and anything you can possibly imagine that it is a part of the process of opening a club or adding padel to a current facility. I was involved in all of it when I built the sports house. I was involved in a lot of it now that we opened some clubs with Racket Social. And yeah, that's what I did. And besides that type of consulting, I also last year I put out a report about the state of padel. So I took 20 plus years of experience in everything rackets, and particularly these last few years more involved with padel and pickleball. And that's why I did with Misitrano Consulting.
I was going to ask you something. You sent me a message a month ago about something that I saw was pretty amazing, something very interesting. Okay, it seemed like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you created a platform with a lot of analytics and data for club owners, entrepreneurs, or anybody really who wants to invest or get involved in the padel industry. Is that true? And is that out? And can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I'll start before I get to answer your question directly. So I started collecting data, and what I mean data, I wanted to know how many courts there were in the US, because everyone's like, oh, there's 200 courts, there's 300 courts, there's 400 courts. And first of all, I wanted to know because no one knew, and it was, everyone is guessing. And second, I was advising folks that were investing hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars. And if you don't know what the market looks like, I didn't feel like I was doing my job by advising on a business that no one really knew what it looked like.
Okay, I got a question. This could be a trade secret. How did you scrape that information?
Okay, a lot of hard work at the very beginning, still hard work, but I actually did it, and some internet searches, phone calls, text messages, some AI agents that are giving me some information. And when you combine it all together, then you have the real data. And at the beginning, when, let's say, you have 500 courts, it's not that hard to do the research to find 500 courts. Now, if I have 500 courts and then I know there's 10 or 20 or 30 that open up in 1, 2, 3 months, it's so much easier to add. And I started with the smaller size. I started with, okay, I know how many in Connecticut. I know how many in New York. I know how many. And then you continue one more. And then I think I'm pretty close to having 100% of all the courts in the U.S. And
so let me ask you a question. I mean, we used to know every single club that's opened up all the time, but there's so many clubs opening up. It's hard to keep track without some type of, logic or that is proprietary that can scrub that information. Because I mean, every month, every 2 months, you're gonna have to go back and make calls. That's a lot of work. Do you have something like that?
I did a lot of the work that way. And then there's some, I mean, I'm not an expert in technology, and I know there's some other people that are way smarter than me that actually have a lot of AI agents that compile all this information and do it automatically. So I have some of that, but the rest is just, look, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Google, and Google alerts, and then phone calls. And then a lot of people call me and then ask me, hey, did you hear about this? Did you know about that? And then they feed me the information. I don't have to go and find it all the time. And now it's much easier because anyone that opens up, especially with the paddle clubs or paddle or pickleball clubs that add paddle to it, is so much easier because they promote it and it's everywhere. But the ones that are a little bit harder are all the country clubs that don't really promote that they're adding.
Yeah.
But I've been working for like 20 years in the country club and world, so I have a lot of connections and contacts. So I do find out about those. And then I get calls from sometimes general managers that ask me, or directors that ask me, hey, what do you think about, adding 1 court, 2 courts, 3 courts, or who should I contact to install the court? So then I know when they're installing them.
Gotcha. Now, do you have any other data there besides that, or information, or?
And to answer your question, when you were asking me about the platform, the dashboard that I built, so with all this information, what I did is I put it all, not me, I hired someone to do it, but I have an online interactive dashboard that has all the data from how many courts, how many are indoors, how many are outdoors, by state, by city, by zip code, and how much they charge, what is the maximum, the minimum for peak time, for off-peak, indoors, outdoors, what is the price distribution, what booking platforms they have, and in which, what type of facilities they are. If there is a paddle facility, paddle and pickleball, and rackets, country club. And so I put all this data and when they open. So I have also the graph that shows the growth of paddle, and it's all interactive. If you want to select indoor paddle only in Miami or in specific parts, then it shows you that.
So how do you keep that updated every single month? People change their prices, new clubs open, or let's just say somebody puts a new top, so it's kind of indoor but kind of not. How do you? I mean, is it manually done?
It's not 100%. Some of it does automatically. So there are some scraping tools that you can, once you add them in there. I don't know how to code, but you pay someone who does know. And then it does it automatically, updates the data, and then it shows up in the dashboard.
Right. Now, who is this for? Who could use this information? I mean, who are you targeting? Who's your market target? And is this free and open, or is this kind of a SaaS type of platform?
Yeah, it's behind a paywall. And first of all, I wanted to use all the data that I compile to write a report. So the report is free. So the report has some of my analysis of what the data means. Okay. But I wanted to write a report based on hard facts. I didn't want to write a report on what I think that the market looks like. Now, all this data then is in this dashboard that I was explaining earlier. Who should be looking at this? I think anyone in the business of paddle, from the Babolats of the world, the Wilsons of the world, to, any business that wants to open multiple locations across the country, to someone in the apparel world that wants to know what the market looks like, how many players there are, what are the locations where, you get more and more courts. And one of the things that I did see throughout this, keeping all track of this data, because I know when the clubs open, even prior to me starting the research, is that the number of indoor courts is getting closer to 50%.
Wow.
And in 2021, it was 22%. We're not there at 50, but that is a significant change.
Yeah.
And the growth of courts over the last 5 years is 37% average.
Wow.
So in the last 2 years, it was over 75%.
Wow.
But yeah, it's starting to accelerate some. But I wanted to know, number one, because I wanted to know. So when I'm talking to someone, when I'm talking to my boss, at the Racket 360, or when I'm talking to, a colleague, or when I'm trying to speak to a company so they become the sponsors of all the Racket Social Clubs, I want to have this data. So who is the data for? Anyone who really wants to, to understand what the market looks like and where it's going.
No. So where do you see the market going? I mean, you said, 75%. You saw that trend keep going up, or it's going to hit a flat line and then readjust?
And I can see the future, but I definitely see that at least in 2026, it's going to continue the same growth as 2024 and 2025, if not quicker. And sometimes because it takes so much time for a project to actually get through the finish line, then it takes a little bit longer to say, another market is small enough that, if you open 5 clubs in 1 month, then it does affect and all these percentages. And eventually it's going to be less and less. But I think 2026, 2027 is going to continue at least at the same rate. And then I see more and more indoor clubs. So that trend, it keeps, going in the right direction, I think, because the sport, when you're thinking about a business plan and how you can predict how much revenue you're going to get, well, with an indoor building, either like a huge storm like this last weekend when you can't get out of your house in the Northeast, then you don't need to worry about the rain. And rain, or even especially in like areas like Miami, it gets really hot in the summer, so people don't play unless really early in the morning or later at night. So when you have an indoor building, you don't need to worry about any of that. So as a business owner, it just gives me so many more, guarantees that I know that out of the 365 days, 360 I'm going to be open.
Gotcha. So now you said this was behind a paywall. What type of pay structure is it? Is it a fee per certain information, or is it a SaaS, and how much is it?
So it's for a year. So I do a one year agreement, 1 year commitment for I think it's $495 per person, or $2 or $19.95 and for a company.
Okay, that's not bad. It's very reasonable. Do you see what else do you see in there? I know you have this information, but in the near future, what other information or data do you think you're gonna put there?
Look, I went to the website of every single club on that platform. So I have 158 clubs. So I did a lot of research, and I wanted to see what clubs are doing well, what they're not doing well. A lot of the clubs don't actually show pricing on their website, which to me is like having a restaurant without prices on the menu. So that is something that I hope everyone changes. And because you can get it, I mean, it's very hard for anyone, especially new players, to say, I'm going to play Padel if they don't even know how much it costs. So that's number one. And the other one is, and I don't know why people don't do this, but they offer the same pricing peak or off peak time, which again doesn't make sense to me. Right. They might have their reasons, but I think it's a lot more valuable to play, from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m.
Right.
than from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Not everyone can play at that time. So the ones that are not having dynamic pricing like that offers different pricing based on the time of the day or even the day of the week, then I think they're leaving some money on the table. And I hope that Playtomic, Play by Point, Core Reserve, or whoever comes up with the feature that allows for the price to change based on demand, like hotel rooms and airlines. And that's going to change the whole industry. I'm waiting for someone to do it.
Right. Now, if somebody was interested in getting that information, and where can they go to?
My website, Misitrano Consulting, they can do it all directly there. And it's already set up. So if you have any questions, they can contact me. But it's pretty self-explanatory what you get. I mean, you get access to the dashboard. The dashboard is pretty fun because you click on different parts of the dashboard and then it updates, and it's very interactive.
So, Patricio, let me ask you, how important is the component of, current tennis clubs or country clubs adding paddle to the growth of paddle? Where do you see? You're in the Northeast. We know that a lot of the clubs, the typical traditional tennis clubs are adding paddle. How important is that growth into the paddle world?
I think it's very important. So a lot of the growth, people think that it's going to be by new facilities. I think a lot of the growth now is actually from clubs adding paddle to their current facilities, whether it's a country club or a tennis club or even pickleball club that are adding paddle. And I know many that are looking into adding paddle. And number one, because they see it very similar, in terms of how social it is and how easy it is to learn. And number two is because in the similar real estate space, they can charge a lot more, and they like that part, especially for the pickleball and clubs. And then all the country clubs, and there's thousands of clubs in the US, that they tend to have more real estate and already a facility that is up and running. Is much easier for them to install 2, 3, 4 courts. I think the clubs that start with 1 are making a mistake. The ones that start with 2, okay, that's better than nothing. But and I like the number 4 as a good way to start, or 3 with a plan to add at least 1 more. But yeah, definitely all the tennis clubs and country clubs are gonna be how the sport continues to grow.
So now let's move into the Racket Social, CEO position. And you went from Denver, Houston, Georgia. What are the main challenges? Because each state, I'm sure, is like a different country. What were the main challenges in between going from Denver to Texas to Georgia?
I'll tell you, for me, my biggest challenge is not being there at the club, talking to the staff, talking to the players. My personal challenge. So I do travel some, but it's not the same as being in person. And the key is having the right person leading the club and creating the right community and understanding what players need locally, because all the clubs are different. Even the 2 clubs that we have in Houston are very different, are in 2 different parts of Houston. One is indoors, the other one is outdoors. And in different, parts of Houston that are different neighborhoods. So you have to have someone who really understands the idiosyncrasies of the people that are going to go and what the market looks like. And within Houston, there are very different clubs. In Georgia and Alpharetta, it's north of Atlanta. It's different. Denver, it's not in downtown. So you have to have someone who really understands the people who will be within the 20 to 25 minute driving distance radius.
So now let's move back 2 steps back, from this construction aspect. I know one is indoors in Houston, the other one is outdoors. What were your major challenges while constructing those clubs?
For me, personally, is that I was not part of the design. So I had to, do what we did with the design that it was already there. And this is always, for any club that is trying to open, is to have the right team in the right place. And some of it is that the local municipalities sometimes don't understand what the sport is about. And then they need to come back so many different times to do more inspections. And that, you have to schedule an inspection. Okay, they come. And now you have to schedule another inspection. And that takes time. And before you realize it, you lose 2 months.
If you're lucky, it could be more.
Yeah. I mean, you have to schedule 2 inspections and for them to come. And then they're like, okay, you need to move this, I don't know, this little piece of whatever and hardware here. And then schedule another inspection. And it's not like, you're building walls and putting the roof up. And no, it's almost like sometimes no progress, because the folks that are in charge of all these inspections and reviewing what you've done, the work you've done, they don't understand. And so that's a big challenge, at least for us in Katy. Now we're open. But it was a little bit of challenges. We've been pretty much ready to go, before Thanksgiving, and we opened this last weekend.
Wow. It's been out. So what will be the recommendation or advice you will give to upcoming club owner, the do's and don'ts, or what will be the advice?
So do all your research in terms of who is the right person who is going to make the right phone call to the right person and pay them. So
Meaning in the municipality.
No. Pay your.
We're not Miami, buddy.
I'm not needing to bribe anyone. We're not bribing anyone.
Right here.
We're not bribing anyone. This is not Argentina. So I mean,
I'm not a part of that.
the right expert, hire the land and use attorney, hire the engineer, hire the architect who knows who they need to call and what the process is, so you avoid wasting all this time.
So now sometimes they don't because they've never built a paddle club. You know, I've had that situation myself, and I very understand it. It's like going to an attorney, and let's say you need a real estate attorney, and this one specializes in injuries. You're not going to go to that one. But paddle is so new, and sometimes it's hard to find the right, contractor or person who has done it before.
It is hard. So the Sports House was the first club in all of New England with clubs open to the public in New England. And so how many land and use attorneys, have opened a paddle club in New England? Like no one. So we were, I guess, lucky that we found the right land and use attorney who knew the person who would make the decisions and who would tell us before we, submit an application for whatever, what we had to do. And then we also had a very good civil engineer who would also know when the land and use attorney wasn't available. He knew exactly who to call, what to say, who to ask. So if you're going to spend a lot of money building a club, then be smart and spend money finding the right person who's going to get you there.
That's great advice.
Yeah, that will be the first step. And then, like you say, going back to your original, now the club is built, having the right person to run the club, which is, and let's talk about those challenges because, there are 4 different locations. I mean, how do you find that right connection? And what was your experience, and what would you change or recommend to these new club owners?
So it's hard. So in a way, first you have to know the structure that you're going to use for your club. Having a general manager is one thing. Having a director of padel, director of instruction, however you structure it. If you have padel only, a director of padel. What is the director of padel going to do? So you need to know exactly what their responsibilities are and what the manager is going to do. Can that be the same person? Okay, if it's the same person, how many hours are they going to spend on court? 10 to 15. More than 15 that they cannot run the business. Okay, when they're on court, who is going to be the right, hand person helping them with what? With the financials, with the marketing. So you have to think about all these little details before you start. Because if you start thinking about these details, once you're open, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. But having the team that is going to support your director, your manager, front desk staff, you have to train them. And then, yes, on court, you have to have, good, high quality coaches that are certified, who know what they're doing. And one of the most important things that people sometimes don't understand so well is that, the best player might not be the best coach. A really good player could be an amazing coach for a specific type of players. And in the U.S., and I'm gonna take Miami, out of this conversation. Most of the other states don't have a lot of really high-level, high-quality players, and those players may or may not take that many lessons. So the coaches are going to most of the time work with beginners, intermediate, low intermediate, and maybe some, low advanced or high intermediate. So you have to have someone who, as a coach, is good on the court, good communicator, but they can connect. So finding the right team that, it's going to make the entire club work is not that easy. And but first you need to know who you're looking for. If you know who you're looking for, then you can start trying to find that person. And there's not enough coaches in the US. That's the problem. That's the most common question that I get. Like, where can I get a coach? Where can I find a coach? And I'm going to include myself. So I've been only coaching for 3 years, padel, which is nothing, but I have 20 plus years of coaching other racket sports. So that actually does translate to an extent. And I grew up playing padel, very different, but in the late 80s, 1980s. So I've been involved with the sport for a long time, but there are not that many coaches that have a lot of experience coaching the sport from the US. You have some international coaches that, mainly from Spain or Argentina that have coached before, but that's also, it's a challenge, not for Racket Social. We have actually a very good team right now, but in general, it's a challenge for all the clubs.
So, and what would be, because we talk to club owners all the time, and sometimes they think, oh, I'm going to bring a coach from Argentina or a coach from Spain. What, we have our own personal opinions here, but what is your opinion on that, and what are the risks? Because we think it's a risk to bring someone who don't know the community. We don't even know if they speak the language. So what is your recommendation and your advice?
The condition would be a club, let's say, that the area is unfamiliar with paddle. It's not like a Miami or anything like that.
Which I'm sure you have that issue in Katy or Denver or,
Yeah. And the number one challenge is, I think, if they don't know the area, they're going to miss home. That's my number one. And whether it's someone coming from Miami to Houston or from Miami to Denver, it's not that easy, especially, and I'm going to guess that most of these coaches are going to be probably in their 20s or 30s. Maybe they have a family or maybe they don't. If they bring their family, it's going to be a little bit easier because they have someone that they know already. But if they don't have a family, it's not that easy to just, transport yourself from one area of the country or from a different country and then go to another place where you don't know anybody. So that is the thing that is, the most challenging. That's one. Two is, how are people in that area? I grew up in Buenos Aires, and very different than Wilton, Connecticut. Yeah. And actually I moved from Buenos Aires to Bismarck, North Dakota, which was very different. Mm-hmm. And I didn't go back. But that's a very, hard challenge to get past for someone moving from one area to another new area. The language is another one. And then knowing how people are, and I'll give you an example. So I would go to take a lesson in Argentina, and then you kiss your coaches on the cheek, and that's normal. Whether it's an adult kissing the kids when they come to take a tennis lesson or a paddle lesson, and that's normal. So if a coach does that in Connecticut, they may put him in jail. So,
it's true. No, but it's culture. Culture there. It's culture, pop culture about it.
Yeah. So, and tell us, what were your challenges now to fill these clubs with coaches? Where did you get them from?
A lot of it. I reach out to a lot of people with emails like, hey, and I posted online, and then I forward that post to people that I knew from that area, and I said, hey, do you know anyone in this area? Like, I need, a friend of mine in Houston. It didn't work out, but I said, do you know anyone in this area who might be interested? And I did that over and over again. I posted on LinkedIn, I sent emails, and then eventually some were good. Luckily in Denver, funny enough, I hired someone, I made an offer, he accepted, and 3 days later he said no. And then I hired the second guy, who is unbelievable. He's one of the best hires I've ever done. So I'm so glad that it works.
Do you see a big turnover in coaches, like that, they get into the job, and the quality as well? It's a big turnover, and the quality, how you see that?
Yeah, you have to, it's very hard to find the perfect coach / manager, or depending on their position. But I always think that, people can learn if they have the right attitude. So I rather hire someone with the right attitude that I can coach as a coach than having someone with a lot of experience who doesn't have the right attitude.
So something willing that you're able to mold, right? And they are willing to learn, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, if they're willing to learn, they have the right attitude. And those are the best people in any position, whether it's a coach or front desk or manager. And in terms of turnover, and in Atlanta, we had one coach that left, and it was actually good for him because he was living really close to Padel Haus in Atlanta, and it made more sense for him to go to Padel Haus than to drive 45 minutes to come to our club. So, and whenever someone leaves, I never get upset because, look, if you're better off if someone who is not very good leaves than if they stay. And if someone is very good and they leave, good for them, you know. So when someone moves on for whatever reason, it's fine. I then I may get upset for a little bit, but then I understand it.
So what do you see in the future for Racket Social? Are you guys going to keep growing? Are you planning? Do you have any juicy news that you can share with us? Are there more clubs coming? What is the vision?
Nothing juicy. And, we wanted to open these 4 clubs, and the 4 clubs are open. There was a big transition with me coming in with the acquisition of the club in Atlanta. And that was still a big undertaking, having a club that big, and then opening Katy. So now, and we opened Katy very successfully with 100 members, which was unbelievable. I'm so proud of the team that, we did a lot of hard work to get there. And now, since all those, players and members, and even some non-members have started playing in the last few days and are trusting us. So now we need to show them that when they're going to come, they're going to have a great experience. And that's what, it's happening for us, creating the best experience possible in all the clubs, and constantly adjusting, adapting, and making the padel, the tournaments, the events, the clinics better. That's what we want to do for people to come and enjoy their time and feel like, they're getting their money's worth, and then they cannot wait to come back. And so that's the goal for this year. We're always looking and open to opportunities, but there's nothing that is happening in the next few months.
Yeah, Patricio, I have a question for you. And I know you're a consultant, you've been involved in the industry. There is 2 big platforms, right, that do the processing of credit cards and transactions, and also the scheduling. Is there an alternative to that? An alternative for a club to avoid, let's just say, high costs of processing? This is like anywhere from 3 to 4% gross on their revenue, which can be a lot of money. Is there an alternative to that? I've been thinking about this for the last year and trying to figure it out. I may have a couple alternatives, but those platforms have a lot of amenities that people may not want to pull away from. But some big clubs, are paying, over $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month.
Yeah, and look, it's in a way it's the cost of doing business, and when you get close to anything above 3.5%, I think it's on the higher side. But as your revenue increases, then you can negotiate a lower percentage. And I was able to negotiate at the time, less than 3%. And that at the end of the day makes a difference. But they're not going to give you a lesser rate if you don't show them that the revenues are high. But yeah, it's the cost of doing business to an extent.
You see another alternative, than using those platforms?
There are a lot of alternatives. And in terms of, using...
That is viable for a club.
Yeah. There's a lot of them. I did so many demos, and there's a lot of them. And the one thing I'll say for anyone who wants to listen, and maybe you'll get 2 views or 100 or 1,000, I don't know, but whoever is watching this, look, if you're thinking about choosing one platform, I think it needs to be, and I'm not, pushing one or the other. I just think that it needs to be the platform that supports your business and not the other way around. So if you know what you want to do with your club, with your business, then try to find something that is going to help you do that. And a lot of times what happens is, at least it happened to me, I had these amazing ideas and I thought that those were great ideas, but then they could not be implemented. So you have to look for a solution that actually supports your vision, and not you adjusting your business to a platform, because then it's probably not what you wanted to do with a business. But there's a lot of different platforms out there.
So Racket Social, what platforms are they using?
We're using in Houston, Playtomic for both clubs, and in Atlanta and Denver, we're using Play by Point.
Why is that? Why not centralize everything onto one?
For many different reasons, and we thought that the Houston community was going to benefit from using Playtomic more than Play by Point. And so we do things a little bit different there in Houston. The Denver and the Alpharetta locations use Play by Point. And it's not, you can say, oh, it's much easier to use one, but we don't have a crossover from players. In Houston, we do that use both clubs. Now, I think we will. But we don't have members from Denver who go to Atlanta to play. So you can actually run them independently from each other.
But for you guys, or especially for you, going back to the analytics, you have to learn two complete different platforms and how to go into the analytics and read them and understand them instead of just having one.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a secret. So I do go into the back end of both and I understand them, but we have our own dashboard. So we pull all the data from Playtomic and Play by Point and we build our own dashboard with data that we want to see. That is not necessarily the data that Playtomic or Play by Point show, because,
that's why you use both, right?
I used all of it, but what we did is, I want to see specific data, and Playtomic shows it in one way, and Play by Point shows it in a different way. So we pull all the data. We have someone that is putting all of this information together, and then it fits into this dashboard. Then I can go and then play around with it, and I look at it every day. And we also have some, QuickBooks and Stripe transactions that pull directly into there. It has our CRM platform. We don't use the CRM from Play by Point or Playtomic. So it's a different platform that also fits all this information into one place, tracks all the paid media, all the analytics, all the email marketing campaigns and whatnot. So yeah, it's all in one place.
So you have another team that works only on the CRM portion, because that's a very crucial, aspect of the business.
Yeah, we do. We have email automations. We have an email marketing team that, it works on the communication, and then all the automations and all this data, it gets pulled from Playtomic, Play by Point, and then we use a CRM, and then that CRM data then feeds into this dashboard. So it's very complicated, and I didn't put it together, but I use it.
But the challenges with the CRM, it's each community, each state has a complete different needs. So you have a team for each community, or how do you do it? Because Texas will have some needs, Denver's will have different needs, same thing as Georgia.
So we have a marketing team, and then the club director of each location is the one that communicates directly with the marketing team, tells them exactly what we need in that location, and then the marketing team puts it together.
Wow. That's so you're working 26 hours a day, 8 days a week, pretty much.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I don't do all of this. So a lot of the things that I did is putting together all the systems.
Yeah. And
then coming up with, the process. So then the club director submits, 2 emails a week, one middle of the week, one on weekends, and 48 to 72 hours before the scheduled, release date of that email. It needs to be proofread and designed, everything, we test it, and then it goes to the marketing. They put it together in the CRM, and then it goes out. But I don't do that. But I did tell them when it needed to be done by, and what information and how to structure the emails and, things like that.
Are you guys implementing AI in any system?
Yeah, we are developing some really cool tools. Some of them are already, the WhatsApp AI chatbot that we have on our site. But yeah, we're working on some new things. Yeah.
Anything else that you like to add, to the podcast? Do you want to talk about something else?
Yeah, I wanted to actually thank you guys because you were telling that I was like a trailblazer. Well, I look at both of you as the trailblazers.
Oh, thank you.
No, but I'm not. I'm no jokes or anything like that. You guys you were like the first, at least that I knew in the US, that started talking and putting content out there for Padel.
Yeah, we've been working hard and spending a lot of his money. Yes.
Time.
Endless time, and building the team, like same thing that you're doing, you know.
Going from 4 clubs in Miami to now like the whole country knows about paddle.
And now we're happy we're reaching almost about to hopefully the 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. So we're the number one paddle YouTube channel in the world in English and Spanish. So that's only hard work, and we're on the same ecosystem, and we're trying to help each other, you know. So
it's a small community, and I still see it in a way that for a while we all have to help each other, and I don't see as someone if they were to open a club next door, and we actually do it, for example, in Houston and in Denver. I know the club directors at those locations, they're in constant contact with the other clubs and trying to collaborate, and then helping, to get players signed up for their USPA events. So there's one USPA event in Denver. We held our first one, the first one in the state of Colorado in January. And we had 38 players, I thought it was incredible that we had so many, especially the week after New Year's, which was a tough week to promote prior to that. So now we're trying to get the other clubs that have an event now, our players to go and participate in the USPA event. I see it as, we need to grow the community, more players involved, and then there's going to be a time for more competitive and, atmosphere. But even then, people are going to come and use your services, use your club, participate, in your events if you offer them a good service, if you provide a good experience, and that's on us. So, well, thank you for starting the trend.
Yeah, of course.
Patricio, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I think this is going to be so helpful for the new upcoming owners, paddle club, entrepreneurs, and we're trying to bring the awareness there and the challenges that you're having managing 4 clubs and the whole ecosystem of, people and all that. So, but thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you. Are you coming to RacquetX?
Yes, I'm going to be there for a few days. I think I'm arriving a day before. Hopefully I can play some paddle the day before. And I may play at maybe one match in the X Clubs event that the NTL is running with clubs during RacquetX. So I think I'm going to play one match probably. We'll see.
Great. We're looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks, and keep up the good work and keep sharing the love for paddle to our community.
Patricio, congratulations on everything.
Congratulations.